they call it Bhikkhu Bodhi. Bhikkhu Bodhi, yeah.
Please come in. Please come up here first of all, our visitors.
I'll turn the microphone there if you want to use the mic.
Yeah. So please come up here first of all. Oh, that's nice. Sorry? Yes.
This is sister.
Daughter, excellent.
This is my cousin who has the same relationship to Venerable Mettavihari, and I think you know Vinu.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
And my daughter is also here.
excellent, great. So this is just you who come here, 4 or 5. What we're going to ask you to do in a moment, first of all we'll start the ceremony, and then we'll do the water pouring, and then we'll do a lot of chanting. And then there'll be a Dhamma talk afterwards. So are you okay listening to the Dhamma talk? We usually finish about 7:40. About 8:30 usually finish. Okay, excellent. Okay, so how's the time going? It's another 2 minutes. Would you like to just sit in some of the chairs over there first of all? Then in a few minutes I'll invite you up. Oh no, they can do it up here. Would be good.
Oh, they want to do that here? I see.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Is there something in the cooler bag? In the cooler bag?
Oh, it says yes.
Daily products. Daily products. We put in the fridge.
Okay. Should be okay. And Venerable Radha, will the camera be able to focus on them when they do the water pouring? Oh, so maybe either that or Achanapi. Can you move back one, Venerable Radha? Okay. Just going to make sure we get the whole ceremony. I see you've got some of the most comfortable seats in the house against the wall. In Nolamawa, those are the first seats which get taken. So are we ready? It's 7:15 now. So what I will do is I will just... this evening we also have other people who are receiving some of the chanting later on. I'll read this out first of all, and so everybody gets included here. We always do chanting on Wednesday evenings for those who are sick or need some assistance. And so the main reason we have Venerable Mettavihari's picture up here, because he passed away a couple of days ago. We also want to make sure that Bhikkhu Bodhi has relief from his constant headache. Ajahn Sangharatana gets even better health. And Ajahn Upasama also has good health. Where is he? Okay, great. Excellent. No, you always get better and better and better. Okay. Okay. Is that Beta Rulak? Is that right? Beta Rulak. And also we have Indira Fernando, who's got good health. Frank Chu, his family and business. Stephen Kelleher, who passed away December the 7th. That's his son is here. There you go. And age 88. And may his family find peace and stillness. Kim Boone, Catherine, Elaine and Wisaka for good health and peace. And Amanda's, who's here, for even good health, even better health. But not so good health, you can drive a car too fast. Please make sure that you allow us to drive you around if necessary. And where are we going? Laurie Asunta for help with finding a new job. Peter Hofstetter and Leo Stuckey for a balanced blood pressure and good health. Melissa Constanzo for good health and protection from urinary tract infection. Neo Lai Hunt, Sen Kiet, goodness gracious, really small writing. Chewett. Okay. You got good eyes? Want to start reading it out? What about here? Not very small. He's can't read out either.
Melissa Constanzo, good
Yeah.
health and protection. Okay. Neo Lai Huat, Sia Kiet Wan, Sia Yu Jing, Hyo In D, good health and peace. Ryan Che, Leha's son, seeking employment as teacher. Chang Wen Yi, 4th stage pancreatic cancer. John and George Walker, good health and happiness. Klaus Born
Hamstengel. Klaus
Hunter
von Hamstengel.
and daughter Lisa, thank you. Sabrina Tiehi and family well-being and happiness. Stephen Dodd, good health and protection from pneumonia. Joshua Moffat, good health and freedom from epilepsy. Achin, Bettina, Flo, Lenny and David for good health and peace of mind. Lau and Karu for good recovery. Ineke, well-being and health, especially eye retina. Carolina Wangsa, well-being and healthy eye due to glaucoma. Ho Han Ge, well-being and health, diabetic. Liana, well-being and health, gastrointestinal. Walter Peters for good passing away. Christine and Verena Marine, health and well-being. Renu Schneider, recovery from illness. The sick and weak. Sis Tan Cheng Si, A. Cyril Hung, Oliver Ng Sun Heng, mom, 4th phase cancer. The deceased, Sister Tan Chun Kiat, Cheng Ling Ling, Karen Han Abi, Ui R Cheng, Ken E, Roland E, Nellie Lam, Mr. Neo, Buddhist Association, Jitra Kedah, West Malaysia, newly passed away in October 25. Tanting Yap, Renato France, freedom from severe mental suffering. Elsa Yolanda Jaitaza, passed away 24th November. quail protection for Bodhinyana, Hermit Hill, Lot 142, New Land,
Yeah, we'll do that later, yeah.
Janagro, Kusala, Cambodian, Vihara, Dhammasara, Santi, Indian, White Buddha Dhamma, Bodhinyana, Great Southern, and Mettavihari. Yong Yun Fo and family for well-being.
Excellent, thank you. So now I'm going to light the candles, and not the incense because it's bad for my health. Otherwise you have to put me on the list next time. And after just do the Arahang Sammasambuddho, and then we'll invite the family over here to do the water pouring, and we'll do the chanting for the sharing of merits today with... shall we do the chanting first, the whole Pivot chanting?
Let's do something else. Sharing merit, can we? Just make the sutta and
Yeah.
just something simple.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, yes. But we'll do the anicca, yes. But we'll do the bowing lighting of candles first. So please chant along with me. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddha Bhagavanta Abhivademi Suakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Sanghang Namami. So, may I invite the family around the water to actually pour the water ceremony. And is the camera okay? Because this is being live streamed overseas. So please just sit down. Could you move your bag a little bit away? Yeah. Excellent. Okay. Come as close as you can. You can move the thing back a little bit if you wish. And we usually start the pouring of the water once we start the little blessing, Yata Wari Waha, because that verse means just as the water which pours on the mountains goes down to little streams and rivulets and fills up little lakes, and the lakes collect more water and eventually have streams which run down the mountain and which form rivers, and eventually those rivers go to the sea, the ocean. In just the same way, may this of the merits which we are going to do today, especially to Venerable Mettavihari, go all the way to him, making sure he has a very good rebirth, and come back to help serve the sasana again, because it's very invaluable in his help for us. It's a good idea? Agree? Excellent. Okay, so let's start the chanting. Okay, good. Here we go. Yata Wariwaha Pura Paripurenti Sagarang Ewa Mewa Ito Dinang Petanang Upakapati Ichitang Patitang Tumhang Kipa Mewa Samijatu Sabe Purentu Sangapa Chando Panavaso Yata Manijo Diraso Yata Sabbarogo vinasatu mate bhavan vantarayo sukhi digayugo bhava apiwa danha silitsanitra Utapachalino Chataro Dhamma Vatanti Ayuano Sukhang Balang. Okay, now we do some more chanting, which we usually do at funeral services. Anicca Vata Sankhara Upadavaya Dhammino Upajitava Nirujanti Te Sangupasamo Sukho Anicca Vata Sankhara Upadavaya Dhammino Upajitava Nirujanti Te Sangupasamo Sukho Anicca Vata Sankhara Upadavaya Dhammino Upajitava Nirujanti Te Sangupasamo Sukho Achirang Vatayang Kayo Patawi Adise Sati Chudo Apeta Vinyano Niratang Vakalingarang Achirang Vatayang Kayo Patawing Adise Sati Chudo Apeta Vinyano Niratang Vakalingarang Achirang Vatayang Kayo Patawing Adise Sati Chudo Apeta Vinyano Niratang Vakalingarang. That's another nice gatha which we say, that impermanent is this body, unreliable, one day it'll be thrown aside just like a log of wood. And that's each one of us has that fate. And lastly, we do the very positive Metta Sutta, which is a beautiful sutta to chant on this occasion. You already got that? For those who haven't got the full Metta Sutta, so you have to look in the back of the book for that. How to start again? Karaniya, thank you. Karaniya mata kusa inayantang santa padang apisame chasako uju chasuhuju chasuwacho chasamudana mani santu sako Chasubaro Chapakicho Chasalahukawu Tisantindriyo Chanipako Gabokule Suananugido Nachakuda Samachare Kinchiyenawi Yupare Upavateyo Sukhino wa Kemino Hontu Sabe Satabawa Tusukitata Yeke Chipanabu Tatita Sawa Tawarawa Anawasesa Digawaye Mahantawa Majima Rasaka Anukatula Ditawaye Chadita Ye Chadure wasanti avidure buddhava sambhave siva sata bhavantu sukhitata naparo para nikubetana timanyetaka tachinan kanchipaya rosana patika sanya nanyamanya sadukami chayamata yataniya puta ayusa ekaputa manuvake ewa pisababu desumanasa bhavaye aparimana metanchasa balokasmin manasa bhavaye aparimana uda adochatiriya chasambada avera asapata titanchara nisinova sayanova yavata savikatamido etang sati aditeya brahmameta vihara idama hudite chanupaka masilawa dasane nasampano kame suvineya geda nahicha tukapaseya punaretiti. We're going to do some more chanting in a few minutes, but first of all I'd just like to say a few words about Venerable Mettavihari. It's something which Prem managed to write down for me today. For those of you who did not know him, he was a person the monk who looked after me and Ajahn Brahmali for many years in Sri Lanka. And at the age of 80, Venerable Mettavihari passed away peacefully on Saturday, 6th of December, at his sister Karen's home in Denmark, with his two sisters by his bedside. He lived in Sri Lanka since 1969 as an architect and ordained in 1988. His wife is Sri Lankan, also joined the Buddhist order as a nun. It's your mum?
No, that's my aunt, mom's sister.
Our mum's sister, excellent, great. And he was a very simple monk, committed to practicing the Vinaya, living with integrity and compassion, mainly sustained on Bindapata, and did not handle money. He's a very impressive monk. His main objective was to uphold the Buddha Sasana and propagate the Dhamma through digital media by using his proficiency in information technology. He was the first to digitize the word of the Buddha and Tripitaka and Dhammapada. He founded the first Buddhist TV channel in Sri Lanka called Dhamma Wahini. In addition, he also worked hard to improve the life of rural communities by providing extra coaching to school children through a 24-hour education TV channel. He shied away from publicity and never offered to give teachings himself, but always organized others to do the teachings. He gave a lot of value to walking barefoot or taking public transport and minimized travel by cars. Spared a lot of time and effort when it came to organize. Actually, he did not spare anything, he just gave a huge amount of effort when it came to organizing Ajahn Brahm's and Ajahn Brahmali's retreats and public talks in Sri Lanka. Venerable Abhaya, who's, you all know him, he was one of our monks, but then he became George Karyawasam, introduced him when we were looking for a suitable monk, suitable local member of Sangha to lead the Ajahn Brahm Society. So he made me, got my name and formed a society so I could teach there with great ease and great success. And launched in 2008, that's 17 years ago. He was the key to the success of the popular 2009 January Noble Eightfold Path program in 8 places around Sri Lanka. Thereafter, he continued to lead the society to conduct nearly annual meditation retreats, introduced by Ajahn Brahm and Brahmali alternatively, mainly aimed at teaching the teachers by offering priority attendance to bhikkhus and bhikkhunis and 10 precept nuns. But I also remember Venerable Mettavihari. One of the times I really remembered him so well was when he has contacts all over, and he managed to get me into the VIP lounge in Colombo Airport. And I thought that'd be so comfortable, because there you don't have to do much checking in. You just hand your passport to one of the ladies there, and they hand you a cup of tea back. So while I'm drinking my tea, they take it to the immigration stuff, at emigration, because I'm leaving Sri Lanka, and they stamp it all. You don't have to stand in a queue, you don't have to stand at all. And once all that was done, I remember Venerable Mettavihari and Rohanta, they left me in the airport, and because it was getting late, it was one of those midnight flights on Singapore Airlines from Colombo to Singapore. And then I knew that you have to get to the gate on time. And I kept on asking them, are you sure they know when to take me to the gate? And they said, no worry. And they were there when I first asked the flight, or the, what do you call them in the VIP lounge, the hostesses or whatever. And I asked them and said, are you sure you can get me there on time? He said, oh yeah, no worries, please don't worry, Ajahn Brahm. And it's the first time in many years when people told me not to worry. That's usually what I tell others. And then even Venerable Mettavihari said the same, don't worry, they'll get you there on time. And then, I think you all know what happened. They forgot. And so by the time they got me to the gate, you could see the air bridge just separating from the aircraft. And there's no way I could jump that gap. So I missed the flight. And I felt very guilty of doing this, but I did manage to give a call to Venerable Mettavihari. I felt guilty because it was late at night and he was old. And I asked him and said, you told me not to worry. You shouldn't have done that. You should have worried, because I missed the flight. And he turned around in their car, driving back from the airport back into town to take a well-deserved rest. And he turned around in about half an hour, 45 minutes, he was back at the airport to help me just get another flight and just arrange all the things which needed to be arranged, having missed a flight. And even though he was aged, even though he was sick, he tried to hide it, but he told me. And he still managed to look after me as best he possibly could. And for that I'll be kind of eternally grateful, but also just to know his kindness and compassion, even though it cost him a lot of sleep that night. And that was my memory of him. We had many other very successful occasions since that time, but that's what I remember most of all. And the way that he managed to get lots and lots and lots of people to the talks, and also to the and meditation retreats. And most of all, I remember him that the visit I went to Sri Lanka the last time, I was thinking early this year. That's when he arranged a meeting with me and the new Prime Minister. It's mostly his doing. And so when we went to see the new Prime Minister, the main reason was that it still had not occurred yet that bhikkhunis in Sri Lanka were giving recognition of actually being bhikkhunis. On their travel documents and other ID, they could not say they were bhikkhuni. And that was very, very difficult if any of them wanted to do any travelling. So we talked to the Prime Minister, and in June this year, in mid-June, it got to the Supreme Court and it was passed. So legally now, and thanks to the hard work of people like Venerable Mettavihari, bhikkhunis are given legitimacy, recognized as a status of full female ordained monastics. And that's a huge step. And that's something which I will always remember, your uncle,
Yes, sir.
uncle for helping out like that. He made a difference. And for that he's got my great respect. And also, he was very powerful in to make sure we can make this Dhamma, which we teach, more easy for people to understand. So one of the things I'm going to do now, before we do some more chanting, is what we started here, and we've done over in Sri Lanka as well now, is to chant that Metta Sutta, Karaniya Metta Sutta, in English. That means that some people who don't understand Pali, as Sinhalese, you chant that so often, and you hear it on the radio, and you just walk down the street and you can hear it probably coming from some temple. We can do that in English for you to show just how powerful that teaching is. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, not busy with duties, and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm, and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove, wishing in gladness and in safety. May all beings be happy. Whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be happy. Let none deceive another or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another, even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, seated or lying down, freed from drowsiness. One should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding, by not holding to false views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being free from all sense desires, is not born again into this world. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, can I please now invite you, if you wish to listen to the rest of the ceremony this evening. We're going to do a slight bit more chanting. I was asked to chant the quail's protection to protect against fires. But if you would like to just go back to your seats, you can leave the water there, we'll sort that out afterwards. If you'd like to sit in the chairs, in the back there, the red chairs, you're most welcome to sit in the red chairs. We'll put that on the Bodhi tree later on. So we'll do the quail's protection, and that is to protect against fires at Bodhinyana Monastery, Lot 142, which is where our Venerable Sumita has been working really hard to Jhana Grove, Hermit's Hill, what we now call the Yoga Centre. We'll have another name for it soon. The amalgamation's going through, probably be completed by January next year. And also for Dhamma Savanan's monastery. And also Kusala Vihara and was it Dhammayana? Dhammayana Rama. That's the next door property. Sometimes we call it the Cambodian Vihara, even though there's our monks staying there most of the time. And then we also have the Albany Monastery. And now, where else have we got? Oh, we've got over east. We have Santi Monastery. We have Newbury Monastery. We have SOS. That's Wat Buddha Dhamma. We have Lumia. That's where Venerable Nirodha is staying. Any more? That's one of my troubles now. We get so many viharas expanding faster than my brain can expand. Any else? Some money?
Sounds pretty good, I don't know.
Okay, sounds pretty good. Okay, so we do this fire chant, and most of the chants we do, the words are important, but even more than the words is the understanding and the energy, the emotional strength we grant it by understanding what we're chanting. And that quail's protection was because in an old story by the Buddha, there was this bushfire, and many of the animals tried to escape. But then there was this tiny bird who realized that many of those animals would not be able to escape. They won't make it. Some were just too small to escape. Some were too slow. And so this quail, instead of thinking for itself, decided to fly into one of the lakes, get some water on its wings, and flew over the fire, flapping its wings to see if it could lessen the strength of the fire, which was logically not a very good thing to do, it would not work. Many people feel that way. But then at least it was trying to do something. Because it was trying to do something, no matter how illogical it was, heavenly beings saw that little quail and decided, this is just not crazy, but it was inspiring. When people try to do things which are impossible, but they do it anyway, other people come and help. When those other people are heavenly beings, devas, then they said that Sakka was just so moved, his seat got hot, and he came and helped by making these unseasonal rain clouds appear suddenly. And the rain poured on that forest, and all those little animals who had no hope of survival all survived. And there's so many times, you hear of things like bushfires and stuff in monasteries, where, if you ever, you can't see it in the light of day, there's some of these windows over here, when we had a big crown fire so many years ago, they cracked, but the glass never fell out. So the ashes and the cinders never came into this building. It was actually quite close to being destroyed. But the monastery survived because of all the great chanting which we had done. And many other monasteries are the same. There was another big bushfire next to Dhammasara. And when I asked what happened, there was apparently just one sort of blackened leaf came into the monastery, nothing else. And it came right to your boundary. So sometimes we feel that this is impossible, I'm just making these things up, but it's not true. Sometimes it does help, which is one of the reasons why we do this chant. So this is the quail's protection. The story is very nice. And I also love the story. When I said that story, we chant it often, it's not just for protection against fires. I told that story to Tola many years ago because I found out that the Cambodian refugees here, they bought this lovely piece of land and they were starting a monastery, at the Dhamma, and they were just totally could not afford it. And I remember just asking them, can I have a look, at your finances? They had nothing to hide, and I gave it to one of our members who was basically she worked for 2 banks at the same time, head of 2 banks, that's Angelina. And I said, are they really in trouble? He said, you bet they're in trouble. Just one small mistake or one small thing went wrong, and they'd actually mortgaged their homes and given the money to the temple. They'd been in real big trouble. So at that, we'd made a big fundraiser for them, and it was highly successful. And at that fundraiser, it paid off all their debts, and they deserved that. And I called the person who organised all that was Tola. I said, you are just like that little quail. You did something really impossible, and you convinced all of your friends to mortgage their houses, and you really put yourself on the line and all of them, and you made it through. And I thought it was really inspiring. She was known as a little quail, and she deserves that. Okay, protection of the quail. Are you ready? Atiloke sila guno sacha socheya anudaya tenasa chenaka hamisa chakiriya anuttara awa jitwa dhammabalang saritwa pubake jine sachapalang awasa yasa chakiriya akasahang santipaka apatana santipada avanchana mata pita chani kanta jata ve dapati kama sahasache kate maha maha pajalito siki wajesiso lasakari sani udaka patwa yata siki sachename samona ti esame sachapa ramiti. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, so I think we can finish the chanting and I just get up on the podium to give the talk. Okay. You still happy to stay? Yeah. The talk will be in English. Great. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami.
It's not recording.
Okay.
It says there's no SD card. Please excuse me.
Okay. Is the other one being live streamed?
It is, so it's recorded on YouTube, it's fine.
Okay, recorded on YouTube. Okay.
Should I not try to fix it now?
We'll do it.
It's recorded on YouTube.
Recording on YouTube. That should be enough. We can download it afterwards.
There's a card, but it says there's no card.
Okay.
Sorry about
No, it didn't say sorry. That's why it was wonderful to have someone like a Venerable Mettavihari around. Could arrange all of that. And was very, very successful. And so he used his knowledge and understanding. And he also did some other wonderful things, which I really thought, helped me to improve my abilities and qualities as a teacher. I remember he did arrange for me to go into the presidential palace once, to be able to, and I was really quite impressed that's when the former president of Sri Lanka, Mahinda Rajapaksa, that he served me breakfast. I always remember when he served me breakfast with his own hands. I don't know who told him about the kind of breakfast which I prefer, but he served me baked beans, which was, I was kind of stunned. Where did he get that idea from, baked beans? And I think that was from Venerable Mettavihari. But also, I remember from that first meeting, I also gave some talks to the president at that time. That's what you're supposed to be able to do, not just talk Dhamma which people don't understand, but tailor it to him, to his position, to try and have some more calm and peace in his world. Sometimes I got nothing to gain, from meeting a president, but just everything to give. That's the job of a monk. That's the job of someone like Venerable Mettavihari. He was always a great giver. He never really asked for anything back in return. And that's one of the reasons, I think, why he did get sick, but he lived a very good life and a very wonderful life. And so when a good person dies at the age of 80, sometimes you don't feel sad. You feel wonderful, well done. It'd be great if you could have done more. But what you did was more than good enough. That's why I always say that at a great person's death, I never feel sad. In fact, you may feel this strange, but in my position as a senior monk here in Western Australia, I go to many, many, many funeral services. And I quite like them. I prefer going to a funeral service, honestly, than to a marriage or to even to a dana, where people try to feed me. The reason I like going to those funeral services, because people tell me all more information about that person, how they lived. And there's so many things which they did I never realized, and so many parts of their life which kind of make me understand why it's just really not good to judge another person. You judge another person not knowing all the evidence and why they do things and why they did things. It makes no sense. So all that idea of judging another person, who's good, who's bad, who's everything, that's up to them to understand why they do these things. It's up to us to forgive and respect all the beautiful things which they've done in their life. It's one of the reasons why I usually go to a funeral service. It's terrible that a person has to be taken away, especially in painful situations. But sometimes, that when they pass away, you reflect on all the great things which they've done in their life. It becomes an example of inspiration, what you can try and do yourself. Not really think of yourself, but think of others. And he had some wonderful ideas. And I also remember at that time, he'd already arranged for me to give a talk at BMICH. And when he mentioned that to the president said, make sure it's on national TV. If a president says it, you've got to do it. So when I went there to give the talk, I think it was the next day, give the talk, the people who were doing the recording, they just did actually tell me quite seriously, look, this is on national TV. You cannot sort of make any mistakes. If you, by mistake you put your finger in your ear or up your nose or something, that will ruin the program. And make sure your speech is, correct. And also they said what really concerned me, that you have to finish in about 55, 56 minutes from the start. And he said you have to be on time, because if you're in a very important part of the sermon or the talk, then you will find you'll be just cut off. We have to do that. We can't extend it for you. It's not like here, where, out of courtesy and out of respect to me, that sometimes I can go on for a bit longer than I'm supposed to. But there you have to sort of be within time. And that's where I gave the talk. My intended talk was the talk of the thousand petal lotus simile, about how meditation works. And that was a beautiful story. And it just fit perfectly within that 56 minutes. And I was really quite inspired by just how, when you test yourself out, you can succeed with that bit of confidence. And I thank Venerable Mettavihari for giving me that opportunity. I know that I think the next day I was leaving Sri Lanka to come back to Perth. And I remember just in those days, I'm not quite sure why, but I just went through the ordinary channels to check out, to get onto the flight. And the person who was stamping my passport, checking everything, said, "Oh yes, I heard your talk yesterday on TV. It's a good talk, thank you. Stamp, no problems." So I remember him complimenting me on that, and I thought, well, there's people who also needed thanking, because without them that would not have happened and I would not have been able to do it. So part of monastic life is that gratitude you have to all those people who support you, help you, look after you, feed you, and just make it so joyful. And so you can share that joy with so many other people. It's one of the reasons why, when I do give a Dhamma talk, it's not just conveying information, it's conveying just the inspiration which usually goes along with those great Dhamma teachings of the Lord Buddha, or those great explanations of what those Dhamma teachings mean, by great monks which I have known, or just one's own interpretations. Sometimes when I teach the Dhamma, you get so inspired. These aren't just talks and teachings which are like in a university gives you more information. They just raise you up, give you that inspiration which can overcome some of these terrible things which we face in life. Even just my attendant at lunchtime, Venerable Mettavihari can remember this. There was this couple. Apparently I have seen them before, but many years ago, and she was suffering from cancer. And for the first time, it was just really hard. And teachings which she hears on YouTube from me and from other monks as well, really, really, really help her. And help her to get through these difficulties in her life. And, okay, I'm going to say this. There was also, I was saying that I got this email some weeks ago, months ago now, from a gentleman in India. And his name was Mr. Gandhi, Rajiv Gandhi, to do a Zoom talk with him and his close family, because one of his relations over in the United States had such a bad cancer, and I think it was operated on, but the thing which really worked for her, she was in pain and depressed and goodness knows what else, was when she listened to some of the talks which we give from here. And it worked for her. She had a good night's sleep afterwards. Somehow or other it touched what she really needed to understand, seeing the problem and overcoming it. And because of that, then we had this little Zoom talk, with the leader of the opposition in India, together with his relations. And these sorts of things inspire me as well. That when somebody makes this possible, all those people who manage to install the ability to give Zoom talks, even from just my hut, my kuti, to the world, and making this incredibly beautiful, powerful Dhamma available. And that's one of the reasons why, someone like Venerable Mettavihari, I actually called him as Venerable Mettavihari Mahatero, and he deserves that title because he did such good work with his time in Sri Lanka. And this is not just, for making merit. It's also the good which we do in our world. When we remember it, it inspires us. That's one of the reasons why I still rely on some of that merit to inspire me. When I go back to my room after this talk and I sit in my cave I've got a little cave where I meditate. And when I go there and sit in my cave, I guarantee when I first get in there, I feel tired. Oh, I had a busy day. But then I think, what have I done today? What goodness have I shared with others? And what stories have I heard about how that goodness can help other people? What things I've done for that Cambodian community in their temple. If I hadn't suggested, let's do a fundraiser and just get this all paid off, they just would not have a temple. And they would just not have a home either, a house. I must say with the Cambodian community here, they've got so much faith and confidence in Buddhism, they haven't got much wisdom in how to do investments and how much they can afford to pay. But I kind of love them for that. I always like telling the story, please I'm going off on tangents as I usually do. When they first came as refugees to Perth, when they first came, I remember going to Shenton Park, there was a big hostel there for migrants. When they came there, the people trying to look after them, they were very kind as best they possibly can be, but they didn't know how to communicate with them. Okay, one or two of them knew some basic English, but not much. And I remember going there with Ajahn Chakra, let's do some chanting. Actually, no, he tried to give a talk, but you could see that they were just not paying any attention at all. A talk in English. So I suggested let's do some chanting for them. And once we started chanting, just like the chanting we did earlier, Pirita chanting, Pirit, as soon as we did the chanting, they all looked up, put their hands up and started crying. It was the first thing from their culture which they could recognize. Bald-headed monks, even though they were white-skinned, bald-headed monks doing Pirita chanting, which they knew. And I remember seeing those tears and just what a wonderful thing it was to suggest that, how to welcome people into this country. And I can't go past some of the friends also. There was this ex-monk who once he did disrobe. He got a job working for the customs and immigration over in Brisbane. And he told me that he was in Brisbane airport on the passport desks, one of about 7 or 8, when a plane load of Laotian refugees came in. And those Laotian refugees, such simple, good people, they didn't know where to go, what to do. And he sat there on the desk and he said to the first one, Madasai, even though he was Australian, a big white-skinned bloke, he knew Laotian. When he could speak their language, it's not even that man started crying, but all the other, about 200 or 300 of them, which came in the same flight, all came to his counter. All the other counters were empty. Other people there waiting to check your passports or your documents, but no one wanted to go to them. They wanted to see a person who could speak their language and be kind to them. And I love those kind of stories. Our little acts of kindness mean so much to everybody. And of course, it's my privilege to look after whichever way I could, the Cambodian society, whoever they are, to be able to serve as much as you possibly can. And not just obviously the Cambodian society, the Sri Lankan Buddhists. It's wonderful to be able to go there and say a few words of Sinhala. My favourite word these days is ekahondai. I still get a giggle from you, I don't know why. Just little words which show that you respect others. And you respect people from so many different nations, so many different religions even. And even, who was it, just over in, it was in Kusala Vihara, That's, that where Venerable Bodhinyana, he came from Kusala to come to this night's talk. And, no, it wasn't Kusala, it was to a dana at a restaurant on Monday. And there were some people there who was fixing up a door for the owners of the restaurant. And I could see, because of their turban, they were Sikh. So I just said to them, Sat Sri Akal, which is a greeting. Just the fact you can talk something to them and say hello in a language which they recognize. They were just so helpful afterwards. They could smile. And little things like that is a wonderful way. It inspires me. It's a bit of more trouble, but it's worth it. And when you go that little bit of an extra distance, I don't let that one go. I remember those inspirational moments. And when I do, that's when all you monks and nuns, you go back to your rooms and you meditate. And that is a wonderful way to start off your meditations. And I heard Ajahn Brahmali just repeating that story. It's a story I tell so often about the start of the rains retreat when Visakha, the chief female disciple of the Buddha, who was a layperson, just asked the Buddha for a favor. Can I be the one, in this monastery, who, in Rajagaha, can I be the one who, is it, oh sorry, I got the place wrong, in Sawati. Can I be the one, who offers every monk who comes here for the rains retreat, rainy season bathing cloths, so they can actually bathe in the rain when it's very heavy, because it's dangerous to bathe over in the rivers. Can I be the one who offers rainy season bathing cloths to the bhikkhunis? Can I please be the one who offers medicines to any people who are sick, any monastics who are sick? Can I offer food to those who are looking after the monastics who can't go on alms round? And she asked all these privileges, but can it be just for me? And the Buddha said, isn't that kind of like selfish? Can't we share them out? And then she said this amazing argument, which is one of the reasons I repeat it at the beginning of our rains retreats. She said, but if it's just for me, then I know that any monk or nun in any monastery close by would have received a robe from me, or would receive like special requisites like food or medicines. And if any monk or nun in this monastery here, if any of them get to be a sowan, or get to be a once return or a non-return, or even break through to Arahat, I would know I must have been someone who gave them a robe or gave them some food. And when I remember that I've helped someone break through samsara, that will make me so inspired that I'll be able to meditate deeply and do those things myself. I say that because all of the kindness, the goodness, the service which is given, it makes more sowans in the world, and one day that will be you. It will make the deep meditations happen. Never ever think it's impossible. Never ever think that it's not you can do those things. One day it happens. And when it does, remember all those people who gave you a robe, who gave you some medicine, gave you a glass of water, whatever else people did, and how grateful you feel. And then you can give to others as you were given, in order to create those beautiful states of mind which is the best happiness you can ever receive. That's why we serve one another. That's why you have no doubt about the goodness, the kindness, and the benefits of the practice of meditation, which someone like Venerable Mettavihari has done. And at the end of his life, of course I was not with him at the end of his life. The last time which I saw him meditating was just over in Sri Lanka, and often he would just, I can take time off when we were practicing meditation, because he was getting tired and sick even then. So, my gratitude to you, Venerable Mettavihari, all the help and service you've given to the people of Sri Lanka and to the people all over the world by what you've achieved. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you for listening. Sadhu, sadhu, anumodami. Excellent.